All right, welcome back. We've got a stock update. We're going to talk about some winners and we're going to talk about some losers. The market is always a battlefield of winning stocks and losing stocks, but it's more apparent than ever that the market is really loving some stocks and really ignoring some other stocks. So we're going to talk about them real quick. We'll look at the heat map so you can see what I'm seeing, and we'll look at some of the charts so you can really see these moves that some of these stocks have made. So first one is Tesla. There's all this new optimism around Elon and the White House and what could come out of that. Tesla's a great business. The fundamentals, I still think, need a lot of catch up to do to catch up with the stock price. It's pulled forward a lot of revenue that's going to come in. Tesla's my biggest holding. I love the company. I'm a big Elon fan, but I think it's getting a little nutty. It's getting a little crazy. So there's a lot of talk about AI and Optimus and all this stuff. That's down the road. They make great cars. They're selling a lot of cars. I'm seeing China's killing it, and there is a lot of potential for the government to be off of Elon's back, and that could be a good thing for his companies. But the rate at which Tesla has increased in value recently, I think has gotten a little crazy, and it's getting me concerned because with these big rises, you tend to see some decent sized retracements. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I do expect a gnarly sell off for Tesla within the next 6 months to a year, as we've seen multiple times in the past. So I'm loving it, but I'm also getting concerned because it's we're just one bad report away from the stock gapping down 20-30% and then being in a bear market for 6 months. We've seen this before. So Tesla number one, Google. Now Google, I'm real happy about this. There's a lot of optimism around its quantum computing chip. I think Google has a lot more solid ground than something like a Tesla and some of these other stocks we're going to talk about. I haven't looked at Google's valuation recently, but when it was around 170, 180, I still thought it was cheap. It was the cheapest of all the Magnificent Seven. Now it's over $200, something like that. So it's probably more around fair value. But for a big company like Google to move as much as it has over the last couple of weeks, just based on some chip that isn't really going to do a whole lot of value, I think it's really just investor optimism saying, oh yeah, Google's not just an old dinosaur. They do have a lot of other businesses going around. And I also think this is also another play on less regulation when it comes to autonomous driving. Google's Waymo was the number one competitor to Tesla's full self-driving. So if we do see some less regulation for full self-driving, Google will also be a beneficiary of that. So I don't think Google is expensive. I just don't like how much it's run up because I still wanted to buy some more. The next one here is Coinbase. Coinbase has moved a lot. This has been one of the best winners from since the election. Now this is all the crypto hype, crypto mania. I still like Coinbase a lot. I like the operators over there. I like the fundamentals, but I also think it's gotten ahead of itself. Its revenue hasn't increased 60% all of a sudden in the last couple of months. So again, this is another company. They're just one bad report away from gapping down 20-30%. So I would be careful with a company like Coinbase. But I still think over the next year or so, we'll probably see all-time highs. But I think the risk is much higher for a company like Coinbase and Tesla right now. Another one I didn't have on here is Palantir. We will look at Palantir's chart. Another great company, just valuation and stock price has gone crazy. I'm happy for Palantir investors and Palantir the company, but it looks a little scary. I want to buy it, but I want to wait because I just feel like if I buy it now, I'm just asking to get dumped on. The next one here is Amazon. Amazon, I think some of this is holiday season. Everyone's buying a bunch of crap on Amazon and saying, why don't I own Amazon stock? It's not as expensive as some of the other companies. And so the market has just changed its opinion on Amazon. I really don't know what else recently has caused the recent run on Amazon. I've been pounding the table on this company for this whole year, and it's had big down moves, and I've still been pounding the table. Now all of a sudden everyone wants to buy Amazon. Is what it is. It's great, but I would like to see a little bit of a pullback. It's been in a long base here for a couple of years. It finally broke out. I expect it to pull back a little bit and then make another move up to 250, 260. I just don't want to see it happen right now, because then it would get really extended and that would be cause for another 20% drop. Now let's look at some of the losers. Now Nvidia, loser. It's really not a loser. It's just not moving like crazy like the other companies out there. But I think this is a good opportunity. Nvidia, where it's at now, we get another flush. We'll look at the chart here in a moment. I think that's a great buying opportunity. I think right now it's a good dollar cost average, but if we get a nice little flush from below here, I think that's a great entry point for someone who hasn't bought Nvidia yet. And I think it's another great dollar cost averaging point. So for Nvidia, there's fears of tariffs, chips not going to China, all the stuff that we've heard all year. It's been the same stuff. I get an alert every 3 weeks. Nvidia no longer going to send chips to China, and then Nvidia will come out with a workaround, and it's business as usual. So I'm not too concerned about Nvidia. Now AMD is one I need to look at a little bit more. I think there's just a little bit more realization that Nvidia doesn't have much competition, and Nvidia's biggest competition is probably going to be their own customers. So Microsoft making their own chips, Apple announced they're going to make their own data center chips, Tesla making their own chips, Google making their own chips, Amazon making their own chips. I think companies are saying, instead of going to instead of going to AMD, we're just going to make our own chips. We're not going to go to Nvidia's competitor. We're just going to figure out a solution in-house to compete with Nvidia. That, and also AMD's not the cheapest stock. It's not the most expensive thing in the world, but I do think this is a great company, run very well. And if you're looking to hold something for 10 years, I don't think this is a terrible buy here. I would love 105 for AMD. I'd love a little shakeout in the market and look around for some chip stocks. The chip sector in the whole is not doing very well, besides a handful of stocks. Broadcom's another winner you could put on there. They're killing it. And that's another one where it's like, okay, calm down. You're going a little too far too fast. Another hated company here is Enphase. We've talked about this before. There's a lot of reasons why this company is down in the toilet, but you've also got the potential for less subsidies and less green money floating from the government. I kind of want to take the other side of that, because if there's less regulation, I think there will be more. There's a huge need for electricity, as we've talked about, and if it's easier to make a big solar farm, I think that's going to be a good thing for solar. So maybe there's less subsidies when it comes to the individual, but if the government can make it easier for some of these large-scale projects to happen, or just super mega projects to be out there, I think all these companies are going to be looking around and saying, what's a cheap way that we can have electricity be produced? They're going to say, you know what, we're building a shopping center, throw solar in the parking lot, throw solar on the roof. And I think that's going to be a good thing. You know, people think Texas doesn't like green energy. Texas has more green energy than California. And that's not because they love it. It's because it's less regulation. They can just get it up there. And they have a huge need for electricity because of their grid is so fractured. So they need some of these renewable sources versus relying on the grid. So I think there's a potential contrarian play here. This is the best operating solar play out there. So I'm just keeping my eye on this. But again, this is another one where I could see them coming out with poor guidance and it drops another 20%. So I'm just a lot more cautious than I think the average sentiment out there in the market right now. So that's a little update. Let's take a quick peek at the heat map over the last month. So you see Amazon up 11%. Let me move my face. You see Google's up 12.5%. Take my word for it. Microsoft and Meta up 8%. Netflix 10%. There's your Broadcom up 42%. Tesla up 54%. So, and then a lot of red everywhere else. So again, there's a handful of winners and a lot of losers Nvidia down 10% here in the last month. And let's go ahead and take a look real quick at a handful of names, and then we'll get you out of here. So Tesla chart, I mean, almost 500 bucks. Unbelievable, unreal. And the volatility for Tesla stock is very high. So it's probably the highest I've seen it in this year. So I've been selling some calls. I've got calls sold at the 570 strike. I'm collecting, I think, 2,300 bucks. But if you sell those today, you could get around 36. So you can do better than me. So I'm willing to sell some of my Tesla shares at 570 bucks if we get there. That's another 20% from here. I'm okay getting rid of some shares there. I'm going to be sad that I don't have as much Tesla, and I'm going to be upset because I'm going to have to find a time to get back in. But the valuation has gone ballistic. This is just, I don't like seeing this. We've seen this before here, and look at what happens. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that the case for that to happen is much greater. As I mentioned before, Google, this is a much better looking chart. We retrace back here in the 180s. I think that's a great buying point, and then we will make our next move up. So I'm not too concerned about Google. Amazon, very similar. We've kind of broke out of this range here from 180 where we've been sitting around since the pandemic. So that's a nice breakout. But I do think it would be healthy to pull back a little bit, retest, and then make our next move up. Coinbase, this one really isn't too bad. It's just recently this parabolic move. It's actually doing well. I like how it's settling down. Maybe, little flush, and then make your way back up. This is all astrology I'm talking here when you're doing technical analysis. Now this looks good. I was just looking at Nvidia. I hope this isn't it. I hope we get another flush down here, 120, 115, and then we go. That would be awesome. But this already looks like it's ready to just peel back up to the upside. But that's, again, Nvidia being a loser, 10%. Wah, wah. This really doesn't look too bad. Enphase, just terrible. Terrible. It's tough. I like the idea, but I can't buy this right now. I need confirmation. I need the earnings to turn around, and it's a slow battleship here. Let's take a peek here at AMD. Same thing here. It looks sketchy. It looks sketchy. I would love to get it down here if we can get it in the 105, 110. It looks like it wants to go there. So we'll have to wait and see. Some of these other winners, let's take a peek. Something like SoFi. Again, I love SoFi. I use SoFi. I'm all about it, but I can't buy this chart. I can't buy this chart. Palantir, same thing. Love this company. I just can't buy that chart. Now, maybe we can do something if it gets back in the mid 50s. I'll be there, but I just can't right now. So that's really all I got. I wanted to just let people know, in my opinion, wait for the red days. I think there's a lot of optimism, and I'm optimistic too. I'm always optimistic, but I like to buy when there's red, not this crazy green. Now, there is some opportunity out there. If you said I have to put $10,000 to work, I gave you some losers. Nvidia looks good. Not financial advice, but if I had to put money to work, Nvidia looks good. Google on a pullback looks good. But I would just be very cautious with some of these high flyers that have made big moves, and just wait. Just be patient, because they've given you opportunities before. They will give us opportunities again. And right now there's other opportunities that are worth exploring. Don't go chasing these parabolic moves. So that's all I got for you guys. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll do a weekly market update this week, because there's a lot of data coming in this week, and I expect a lot of volatility for the rest of this week. So I'll see you later on Friday. Peace out.